Let's talk about the thrill of the hunt. Whether the hunt involved is for food or sport, or the most dangerous game, Monopoly. It takes a certain kind of person to venture out into the relative unknown. To receive an order, one that will ultimately set you on a path toward a completely impersonal goal. When you take the first steps out into the unwritten future, your ability and know-how are your only tools. I can only imagine a bit of fear being commonplace emotion and roadblock. One that's most likely short-lived when you consider the fact that the ones that should absolutely be afraid are the owners of the heads you're currently charged to hunt. Even though the men you track possess cunning, hatred, and inhumanity, you're motherfucking Tomas Tate Tobin. And if that name fails to hold a very large amount of significance to you, don't fret. You'll learn a thing or two about why you should be afraid. This tale's hero has finally arrived.
Two fingers. Better make it three. Did you say what fingers? Reference. Phrasing. So, hi everybody. Guess what? I got a surprise that is somewhat surprising for everyone here this evening. Chris? I'm trying to think.
Take it away.
Nah, I got nothing.
Yeah. Take it, Chris.
Take it.
Don't ever say that to me again.
So, well, don't ever make me want to say it again. Not my fault. But the surprise of the evening is the fact that that James is actually in-house to record with me tonight. And by in-house, I mean in my home. Which means that James is getting a thorough pat down before he leaves, because I can't have my Nick Knackery be walking off and shit. So all we're missing tonight is a fabulous, wonderful. You've heard of him, you've loved him from afar. You can't wait until the sex tape is leaked. Chris. Trismegistus Barrios, bigoldfloppytitties.com. I love me some old ladies.au.
I think I'm going to need to add another title, since, you just said to me what you just said. And I think it's going to have to be The Irresistible Chris Trismegistus.
Oh,
bigoldfloppytitties.com.
The Pendulous. Oh, man. So, I think, really, though, more importantly, what brings us all together this evening is our love of Christ and how we, as the youth of this nation, plan to spread this loving message of our Lord and Savior,
spreading
Jesus
our seed,
Christ.
If you will.
Yes, like
Jesus Christ,
almost like Johnny Appleseed. No, it's pronounced Jesus. Like it starts with a G and then it's S-U-S, so it's like G-sus. So like.
Jesus.
Yeah, yes.
Jesus.
Yes. Kanye West is unoriginal.
Quite.
Want to fight? I'm in your house, bro.
Most of them are, though.
I didn't. Chris, did you know that James is a big Kanye fan?
I actually am a big Kanye fan.
I'm letting Chris know.
Ew.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah. What
making
you got?
fun
What
of the
you
man.
want to say about it?
I'm saying that his
What
wife
you-
is ugly, and I don't know why everybody thinks she's not.
I'm so
I
disappointed.
mean, I don't care for the wife. She's whatever. I care about him as a musical genius.
Well,
Ugh.
then why are you wearing those jeans that have her face all over them?
Gross.
promised you
Kardashian
wouldn't
jeans.
say anything.
I break promises all day, every day.
I'm learning that.
Yes. I also didn't get that abortion.
I
Yeah.
am going to stay out of that before I hurt poor James's feelings.
You stay
Aw.
out of this, Chris.
That's right.
What?
So-
What? Kanye?
Ugh,
Let's go, bro. This is
Don't-
the Kanye cast now.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay, wait.
I'm not gonna start. I'm just not. You
Okay.
can't make
Okay,
me.
so,
I'm trying to be nice.
Time out. If I had a whistle, I would blow it.
I still love you, James,
But I don't.
I'm gonna have to just be
Yeah, there you
disappointed
go.
for
See?
a little bit. That's all.
It's called different strokes, and what that means
And
is
Kanye gives the best strokes in
No.
the biz.
different strokes means that what was his name? The dwarf black dude that was on different strokes.
Dynamite.
Chris.
Gary Coleman?
No, not Gary Coleman.
I know.
Gary Coleman. Yeah, that's Jimmy J.J. Walker.
I know. It just sounded
And-
like a good
but
time for
as-
a dynamite.
Oh, no, I know. It's always a good time for a dynamite. But as we know, Gary Coleman's famous line from Different Strokes to his adopted father was Dynamite!
Oh.
Right? Dynamite?
No, something like, what did you say to me, father?
No, yeah, it was like, what the fuck you say? And then, but they always digitally remove the knife in the later airings of the show, which is weird because that takes away so much context. And
What you talking about, Dynamite? Is that what it was?
that's right.
Was you talking about Dynamite?
I'm pretty sure. That's exactly what it was. You know, this is all working out real well. Like the microphone's picking both James and I up wonderfully. We can both hear Chris really well. The thing
Hopefully it
that
picks up
the thing that I didn't anticipate about recording this way is that James is just staring at me so hard.
Picture him naked.
Sorry, when people are talking,
in his
I make eye
underwear.
contact. You're here.
It's like if I just looked at him, we're sitting like a foot and a half, 2 foot away from each other. So
Just picture him in
Because
his,
I don't
in his
wanna-
Kanye
every
panties,
time I
and
look at your...
you'll feel better.
this would feel so much less awkward if we
If-
were
if I
sharing a
wasn't a
single
Kanye.
strand of spaghetti.
Well, look, 'cause I can't keep looking at your laptop because I keep wanting to read, and I'm
Well,
a spoiler for myself.
And I know, and you can't read. And I didn't
I'd
mean
rather
that. I didn't
stare
mean
into
to rub
your
that in.
beautiful eyes.
That's fine. I do have very pretty eyes, even though they're brown. They're full of character. You know, they're deep. They're deep brown eyes, and you're like, what's the mystery behind that? You know what, Chris? You know what the mystery is? Welcome to another Dino Mr. Willis episode of See No, Hear No, Speak No.
Hey, The UFOs.
I got a tiny lady head.
The conspiracies. The $700 fucking panties that James is wearing right now. And the moitas. Hopefully more moitas and more moitas. I have a feeling, though, that if the Espinozas knew anything about Kanye's fashion sense, they probably would have come after him, too.
Listen,
man.
you're just mad that Yeezys are the greatest shoes ever made.
Who unironically wears slatted shade glasses? Who?
A musical genius.
There's
Who's
no
like
way to
pioneer of a
unironically
generation
wear
of
that.
music.
So that what you're telling me
And Soulja Boy.
is the musical genius part of his brain has made other parts of his brain malfunction to where he thinks that those are a good idea.
No.
They are.
What it is
It's to block out the haters.
he's already
Well, then why does
completely...
it let so much in?
to see the lovers.
Okay, you got me there, I guess.
The musical genius
Yeah, I'm
went to
there.
sleep after the first album. He's all the rest of it is just him. Like what all the rest of this is honestly him.
No, dude. Life of Pablo, the album Yeezus.
None of these things make sense to me.
Ugh.
I'm an old man.
Graduation.
Graduation's the
album
only
he's
good
saying is
album he
good.
had. That's it. That was the end of it right there.
You're saying you didn't like Life of Pablo.
I'm emphatically saying that, yes.
He's saying it with emphatic. So
you didn't like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy?
What? This is a conversation
Runaway
that we can have never again.
Correct.
Listen, I'm going to debate about Kanye every podcast now.
I will
I will wholeheartedly defend that man.
editing you out of the show. So, this week, we continue our story of the Bloody Espinozas by not talking about them. Yet. Because as we heard last week, as Chris heard today, because I'm pretty sure James hasn't even listened to this show yet, because whatever, man. It's just like it's some
Listen, man, I'm living it.
Or some
I'm
shit.
living it.
And I hope you all enjoyed the much higher quality value of last week's show. That should be a constant thing now, because I have an actual computer that I'm recording the show on, and not an abacus, which just fucking is really hard to make sounds that sound like our voice. So,
what's an abacus?
An abacus is like an adding machine, it's
sounds like a Latin word to me.
Has, bars on it, and it has like little balls on the bars, and then you can count
Chinese calculator.
Yes, the Chinese calculator is actually called an
That's
abacus.
racist.
It's very racist, absolutely. Everything is racist all the time, and that's why I love being human, is because I can let racism of other races just roll off my back.
That was only in your ears, not the microphone.
Okay. Well, I've said it many times before, and I'll say it many, many more times, I suppose. Probably, definitely. And that is, it's always good when you don't cough into the mic to reference it immediately after.
No. I do that because if I don't, you tend to reference, hey, thanks for coughing right into the mic. So...
Yeah, but then
the viewers still hear it, and they're just like, "What? What's he talking about?"
And then we got viewers somehow.
It's like a preemptive strike.
You post on YouTube.
I post on YouTube, but you don't watch it.
Yeah, you do. It's
nice. It's a static. Anyway,
it's a nice picture.
So this week's episode starts with the man, and actually the myth, the legend. This dude's fucking crazy awesome. The guy that I ended last week's episode on, which his name is Tomas Tate Tobin. He was an American adventurer. He was a tracker. He was a trapper. He was a mountain man, a guide, a U.S. Army scout. And one day, he got a call from Colonel Tappan from Fort Garland. And the reason being that they had these two wascally New Mexicans running around, just totally... I mean, I want to say moidalizing, but I don't think that really gets across the dismemberment and desecration of the bodies. So hopefully dismembering, desecrating, moidalizing will get across the severity that these two Mexicano brothers put strangers through. Usually, luckily at least, they started with a long-range bullet to put the person down, and then they would come up and usually bash their heads in more with an axe, but actually use the wedge part of the axe. Like, I did research on that, because they're the first people to use an axe on a person's head that we've spoken about on the show that actually used the wedge part of the axe.
Like the flat part?
No, like the wedge part, like the axe part of the axe, not the handle part. Like, yeah, because the axe man in New Orleans bludgeoned people to death with the back end of the axe.
The fucking butt, yeah.
The Valeska murderer. He used the blunt end. The Hinterkaifeck killer. Well, he used what was that fucking axe called again?
Tomahawk.
No, it was like a kind of a pickaxe, but not really a pickaxe. Can't remember the name. Okay. Anyway, so they would actually axe up a person's face afterwards. They would usually disembowel them. They would usually sometimes a bunch of the times they would take the heart out and place it next to the person's desecrated remains. and almost always was an insertion of some sort of hastily made crucifix into a wound that they had put in the person. Sometimes the bullet hole in the head would have a little crucifix sticking out of it. Sometimes it'd be in the chest. Sometimes, as we spoke at length about the last episode, they would have a stake that would be driven through their bodies and into the ground below them, underneath them.
That's still
which
crazy.
Seems like a pretty decent feat to accomplish. And whatever ribbon these guys get, I'm not really super jealous of it, because I got ribbons. Not a whole lot of trophies, but I got ribbons. Okay?
Honorable
So
mentions.
don't be telling people that I ain't got ribbons.
You're the ribboniest.
Mm-hmm. The ribbon
And
eater.
oh so full of
Oh,
spirit.
man. I want the rib witch. What's it called? Is that it? The rib witch? From
McRib?
McDonald's, man. The
McRib.
McRib. The McRib witch is what I'm going to call it. So anyway, Tom Tate Tobin, Triple T is what we were going to call him. Not at all. He was born, we think, in 1823. That is a guesstimation, because back then, especially in more Christian religion, dominated places, they would say they would write down the date of the baptism instead of the date of the actual birth of the child. So we think he was born in 1823 in St. Louis. When he was 14 years old, he came west to Taos. He went west to Taos because he was 14 in the 1800s. He came earlier than that. He probably already had a few illegitimate kids.
Came already.
Mountain Peyton Manning. When he was 14, he went to Taos, New Mexico, with his brother Charles to hunt beaver. Which, Chris, how long have I been saying we need to go west to hunt some beaver?
I mean,
yes.
it is
Man.
it's a good pastime.
This is going to be a gross episode because Vera isn't like 5 feet away from me staring at me the whole episode, so I can be gross on this one.
It can be very rewarding.
A few years later, Tom began working with Bent's Fort as a scout. He also worked in a whiskey distillery in Arroyo Hondo, which is a little north of Taos. And in January of 1847, following Mexico's surrender and the United States occupation of now New Mexico, there was a revolt that broke out among New Mexicans and native Indians that were still there in Taos. This is fun. They charged the home of New Mexico's first governor, Charles Bent. They broke down his door. They shot him several times with arrows and then scalped him in front of his wife and children.
Jesus.
Another Saturday night with the boys.
So when I was a little kid and I would see cowboy and Indian movies, when they would scalp people, I would always just think, oh, they're just like cutting the hair off with a tomahawk. It's like a humiliation thing. But then I found out that is just straight, they're alive and you are taking off to the skull, the top of their head.
Yeah.
And that just made it
crazy.
so much more.
How is that ever? That's crazy.
I mean, hey man, when it's why do we use toilets? Why do we use toilets instead of?
Because we don't like shitting in the street.
Well, we wouldn't have to necessarily shit in the
I
street.
don't
It's
know
just
if
because
toilets
we've
are
used
really
toilets for so
really
long.
equal to
It is
scalping.
perfectly analogous.
Analogous? Analogy.
Shit is still
It's a
crazy.
perfect analogy.
I mean, it's still correct the way I said it.
I've never heard.
Well, welcome to the show that you hear things that you've never heard that are surprisingly proper. That's right. I should have been an English major, but I hate English. And didn't go to college. So there's that too.
Yeah, that's
So
a nice little speed bump for you.
So they cut off the top of his head in front of his wife and his children.
That is
which
fucked up.
seems drastic. It seems drastic is what I'm going to say about the whole situation. But the next day, there was a mob of 500 Mexicans and Indians that laid siege to the distillery in Arroyo Hondo, which, as we now know, our hero, Mr. Tobin, was working at. There was a long, crazy battle, and only two of the workers escaped with their lives intact. One of them being Tom Tobin. They ran on foot from a burning down brewery behind them, distillery. So after that, he's pissed, and he's a badass. So he's like, I'm gonna do the pissed badass thing, and I'm going to lead the scouting parties that catch, capture, and put to death most of these insurrectionists. Which, it's like erectionists, but with in front of the other part. Chris, rebuttal.
I got nothing. I'm just peacefully listening to the wackiness you speak.
In the years that followed this, Tobin worked as an Army Scout. He would lead campaigns against the Indians that were still in revolt. And he would do this alongside such notable notables as Wild Bill Hickok, Buffalo Bill Cody, and Kit Carson. Kit Carson I had heard of before, but couldn't remember why I had. He's basically the most well-known, like, tracker mountain man of the Old West. If you needed someone found, fucking Kit Carson could totally fucking find that person.
Interesting.
But Tobin, who was lifelong friends with Carson, was said to be the only man that could surpass Carson in tracking, shooting, and scouting. So the dude that we're talking about now, not as well known, but totally more badass in every aspect of badassitude.
Nice.
Badassness? Badassery. I like it because it's easier to say, but it sounds harder to say. It's weird.
It'll work.
It's weird how things work out like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like when things are hard.
You fired. Shut up.
You fired.
So Tobin was, in appearance, short, stout. He was bow-legged, and he was of mixed race. This research I have here specifically says the word mulatto, but I'm gonna act like I didn't just say that anyway and stick with mixed race. It was said that he could track a grasshopper through sagebrush. Wait, let me try that one more time. It was said, and I quote, that he could track a grasshopper through sagebrush. That sounds impressive.
It does.
Chris, don't you think? Can you track sagebrush through a grasshopper?
I personally cannot. I mean...
Oh. Well, what am I even paying for those courses for online for you?
Well, you open a grasshopper up and it doesn't really look like sagebrush anymore, does it?
Well, but that's why you take the training. That way you can tell the difference between grasshopper and sagebrush once you open the grasshopper up. Now, why we need to know these things is a whole nother episode of this show. So I'll continue. His reputation became known all throughout the Southwest, and in October of 1863, he was like big, super awesome man. Like, he was straight up badass, like to the max, 110% already. Turned up to 11, and people were like, hey man, like, it's a little loud. Can you maybe turn the badass down just like a little bit? And he's like, no. I'm going to write a number 12 next to the 11, and I'm going to turn the knob one more.
One more notch.
So he was summoned to Fort Garland. And do we all maybe remember what the last the last murderous endeavor? Well, it wasn't murderous. That was their intent. But the last fucked up thing that the Espinozas did,
allegedly, that
we spoke of.
Well,
allegedly.
Fort Garland.
But no, they didn't do anything at Fort Garland. Okay, so I'll recap.
Public masturbation.
Okay, it's okay that you don't. Yes. Chris got it. First try. Point for... No. They stopped a stagecoach that had a white man and a Mexican woman in it.
Oh, that's right.
And, of course, when they were like, hey, we're gonna like totally Espinoza the shit out of this situation.
Espinoza the shit.
They go for Whitey, as I would have. And Whitey, though, makes a hasty retreat and actually outruns the Espinozas because they decided to chase him on horseback, and the ground was all rocky and shit, and he made it down this little, hill, mountainside kind of thing, and made it to Fort Garland. So they go back to the Spanish lady, and she had been hiding, and another wagon comes along that has 2 Mexican drivers in it. She tells them what's going on. They say, "Well, hide in the back, and we'll just take this as it goes." The Espinozas jump out minutes later and asks the drivers what their nationality was. They say, "Hey, man, we're Mexicans, just like you. Everything's cool." And the Espinozas ask, "Have you happened to see a Mexican lady around these parts?" And right when the brothers, or the other 2 drivers, right when they say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, we saw there was a rabbit a little while back. I named him Pete. He's still probably back there. We miss you, Pete. And then he poured a little out on the ground, and then he's like, but there's no crying in baseball, or Mexican women in our trunk. So
Definitely no crying in baseball, though.
So Dolores, the of nationality Mexican woman, then jumps out of the back of this wagon and says, "Oh no, please don't kill us," which they probably wouldn't have even known you were there. I didn't find out exactly what happened to the drivers of the thing that lied to the Espinozas. It doesn't say that they killed them, so I'm gonna guess they were like, "Ooh, Dolores, we got you now," because it does say that Dolores was then raped and tied up by the Espinozas, being, by the way, Philippe and his younger cousin, whose name I cared not to remember, but we'll probably run into somewhere along here. But his 14-year-old cousin, because Vivian, his other number 2, had been shot already and taken out shortly before this. Already dead. His other number 2. Number 2'd. No, that didn't work at all. James, I blame you. Blame you for it. Hey, James.
Number 2,
the middle light switch right behind you. Flip that down for me. Thanks, bud. Yeah, the lights under this table is just hot. I'm just all sweaty, and then I'm like, James is here. I gotta look my best. I
Look my Sunday best.
I put on my Kardashian undies and everything, and
that's what I got on.
Yeah. That's why we can smell each other. Okay, so they leave Dolores tied up and say, "We're going to go find that white dude you were with, and then we'll come back and we'll untie you." Well, they never did find the white dude because he made it to Fort Garland. And then Dolores kind of wiggled her way out. Yeah, exactly. She wiggled herself out of her bindings and made it back to Fort Garland as well. And so these were the very first people that absolutely knew exactly what the Espinozas looked like. So Tobin was summoned to Fort Garland, and he interrogated Philbrook and Dolores for just every minor little detail he could possibly know about these people. He wanted to go looking for the Espinozas alone because, like I said, like bad-assahood. Total. But Tappan, General Tappan there, he insisted on sending a small detachment of soldiers with him. The colonel didn't think that Tobin really fully understood or appreciated what the Espinozas were capable of. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Because Tobin's a badass and he knows he's badass. But this guy's just like, okay, we got this Tobin guy here who's a good tracker and stuff. But we are sending him after the worst killers ever in these fucking parts, So, what do we do? Like, I have to send some guys with you because just in case, So, he didn't like it, but he set out the next morning with 15 Union soldiers with him and a boy to tend to his horse every time he would dismount to inspect the trail. I don't know why that detail was even in there. I just, it's always good to have a boy around. You never know when some small cramped area is going to need somebody's tiny little fingers and hands to get in there to fix things.
Yeah.
Like my horse.
Everybody needs their own short round.
Booty twaps. I will take the kid from. I'll take him from the Goonies instead, if that's okay. I'd rather him be saying booty twaps all day than Dr. Jones. You know,
That's ridiculous.
Chris. Dr. Jones, booty twaps. So, like I said, they set out the next morning with 15 plus a boy plus Tobin, so 17 in total. For 3 weeks. I'm sorry. It's like I'm talking about a regular trapper mountain man type guy. For 3 straight days and nights, they followed these 2 banditos from campsite to campsite. They would check the ashes in the fire pits that were still fucking smoldering. He would know exactly. Tobin would notice every scent that was left. He would see every broken stick. He would notice when blades of grass seemed out of place. And he was on these fuckers' trail. They would only stop a few hours each night to sleep. He didn't allow them to set fires. Not set fires, because that sounds like they're burning down buildings and villages and stuff. They start fire pits. And when one of these, hardened Union soldiers would get exhausted, he would inevitably just send them back because he ain't got time for your shit, man. Chris, do you know what happens next?
I'm gonna say he eats a bowl of cereal and takes a nap after jerking it on his pillow, on the other guy's pillow.
You're right. And then he's like, we should just go home. This is boring.
Yeah. See?
Wrong.
I knew it.
That's going to be loud in the mic. I shouldn't hit the table like that. So, early the next morning, the next day, on the 4th one of the days that I've been noticing and talking about, he noticed magpies that were circling in the distance, which I don't know how pies can circle.
Or how they have magazines inside of them.
They're made of circles. They are circular. Is that what he's talking about, Chris?
He saw some blueberry pies flying overhead.
Yeah, he saw pies that were full of Jet magazine magpies. Get it? No, I know you were. You were thinking of Gun magazine. I decided to take it a different direction.
Yeah, and I knew you would. As soon as I said that, I said he's going to say like actual magazines.
Mm-hmm. See, you should beat me to it. But so these birds, which are magpies, because I'm not that dumb yet. He sees them circling in the distance, which usually means that they are picking up someone's waste. So they approach this area, and they notice a thin little column of smoke coming up from within a grove of these cottonwoods. So he instructed his men to stay where they were and to wait with their guns at the ready. Tomas Tate Tobin then dropped to his stomach and, like, army man crawled all the way nearer to the camp. And he had his Hawken muzzleloader ready to go to business and stuff. I actually meant to look up the Hawken muzzleloader because it sounds like it's a pretty, like, badass, heavy-duty, old, super gun kind of thing.
Beastly.
So what do you think about this, Chris? Do you think it's a good idea that they're going to head on, that he is going to head on these Espinoza folk all on his lonesome?
Absolutely not a good idea. But sometimes in history, shit just has to be done.
Yeah,
you see,
I mean, that makes sense.
I played a mission like this in Red Dead Redemption 2,
And
they gave me the option to go alone or take my gang, and I decided to go alone the first time, and I straight up died real quick, and then I took the gang, so glided right through.
Sweet. And as we all know, video games exactly mirror real life in every aspect and way.
Red Dead 2 is pretty close, man. I don't know.
I haven't played it yet. I really want to.
Oh, it's really good. It's really good.
So we're now looking at the Hawken Woodsman muzzle-loading rifle 50 cal.
That's actually pretty impressive looking gun for the time.
It's a badass gun, Chris.
Yeah, that is really cool. That is definitely a top tracker gun right there.
If I had an easy, quick way to send you a picture of this thing, it's cool as shit. It was that like a cap?
Flint.
Yeah, a Flint. Ignition dealy, and it's a muzzle loader though, so still
annoying as shit.
Get one shot, one opportunity,
like a blunderbuss or something.
Do not
like
miss
that?
this chance to blow. No, it's still rifled, which means the inside of the barrel has like the corkscrew kind of grooves in it, which makes the projectile spin, which keeps it like a spiraled football will go on where it's supposed to better.
Right.
So it's still a rifle, but it is you put the ball into the end of it, and there's a stick that's under the barrel.
I understand what a muzzle loader is.
Plunge it down. But I'm letting other people know, Chris.
Oh.
That wasn't even directed at you. I was staring James deep in his stupid, beautiful eyes the whole time.
I can confirm that's not true.
And
he never looks me in the eyes with his pretty browns.
Tickling my sack, he was.
That's true.
So, Felipe and Jose, unless the nephew's name was Josie, but I'm going to go ahead and say it was more than likely Jose. They sat by the small fire, warming their hands. Next to them, a dead ox that had fillets cut from one of the haunches. Their backs happened to be turned to Mr. Tobin. So Philippe's warming himself. He pulls his hands away from the fire and stands up and stretches his arms wide, just like when a little kid that asks you, "How much do you love me?" and you say, "I love you this much," and he arms just super wide. And then
does it say that in the notes?
No, I'm paraphrasing.
Paraphrasing.
and then Mr. Tobin squeezed the trigger on his Hawken muzzleloader, and it's a 50 cal, which doesn't quite mean the same thing as it does today, but that's a big projectile coming at Felipe Espinoza from a pretty decent distance. It spun Felipe in a half circle and left a gaping hole in his side.
Yeah, damn.
That's pretty badass. Oh my god.
And then Felipe yelling out into the inky blackness of forever, "Jesus, favor me." He fell backwards into his very own fire.
Ooh, that's so badass.
Brutal.
So Tobin, knowing that his surprise had been sprung, worked as fast as he could to put another round into this muzzle-loading rifle. And as he's doing this, the 14-year-old Jose Espinoza took off running for the woods. And he actually made it into the woods. And then he made it to being just a little tiny blurry shadow past the trees. And just before Tobin lost complete sight of him, he aimed and fired, and the ball caught the 14-year-old Jose in the spine and sent him straight down to death.
Damn.
Now here's where it gets fun. Felipe is still alive.
Ooh.
So, with a gaping hole in his side, he pulls himself out of the fire. And now, Tobin walks from the tree line and takes out his Bowie knife. Or his Bowie knife. I don't give a shit how you say it. And he approached Mr. Espinoza. Philippe, dying, is fucking like cursing Tobin the whole time. Tobin snatches him by the hair, takes him to a log, and bends his neck over the side, and then asks Philippe, "Do you know who I am?" And Philippe replied, "Bruto, Bruto." I don't know what it means.
The fuck?
Brute of Fabergé?
What daddy is?
He's like, "I shouldn't have worn that Brute of Fabergé. You guys could totally smell me from forever ago."
Fucking...
Stupid.
Nasty.
Oh, it says... Wait,
Okay, it has several meanings.
Okay.
These are the different adjectives it brought up.
Okay.
Stupid.
Like,
ignorant.
I like it.
Clumsy.
Uh-huh.
Rude. Rough. Gross.
Mhm.
Raw.
Right.
Crude.
Uh-huh.
Beast. That might be right. Brute. There you go.
I'm thinking...
And fool.
No, I'm thinking he meant gross. He was like, gross.
Do you know who I am? Oh, dude, you're so fucking gross.
You're gross, man. Jesus, you've been crawling on the ground and stuff. And yeah. So, after this, I mean, that actually, like, yeah, that's a slight. He called the man brute.
Yep.
So, for this transgression, Tobin lopped the heavy blade down, hacking him twice in the neck to fully sever his head.
Damn.
Only 2 swings. That's impressive, too.
I mean,
I don't know if you've ever seen someone get beheaded, but it takes most people a lot longer than 2 swings.
but Bowie/Bowie knives are like...
Oh, it was a knife? No, dude. Ooh, I thought that
Those are like
nasty,
meat cleaver, like weight back then. Like those are used to like to completely gut animals that you need to sleep in.
Dude,
like,
that's
know.
impressive.
Yeah.
I wish I could decapitate someone that good.
Well, that's what practice is for.
I'm sorry, that was.
And if you would come to practice, maybe we could get you up to the level that you want to be at.
God damn
Man.
it, James. You never
I've just been real busy. Get off my back, Mom.
Yeah. Well, Chris, little does he know that he is the head choppee, not the head chopper. We just need him to show up so the rest of us can practice.
The El Chapo.
No, that's not funny. No. Mm-mm.
I'm the chopper.
No. Mm-mm.
Huh?
No. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You hear this, Chris?
I'm hearing. I'm hearing the fucker.
So Tobin, upon his return to Fort Garland, immediately walked right into the office of Colonel Tappan and says, "Got him." Tappan says, "Got what?" And Tobin reached into the flour sack he was carrying and pulled out the heads of Philippe and Jose Espinoza.
Wow.
It took him 4 days.
To hunt down and kill the Espinozas.
4 days, Chris.
God damn.
Isn't that awesome? I think it's awesome.
No, that would suck. That would suck, because I'm sure he barely ate the whole time.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, the Espinozas were out and about killing folk for a good little bit, and no one could catch them. No one could stop them. And Mr. Tom Tobin was on the case for 4 days and came back with heads in a bag.
Then, yeah, that's pretty
When's
cool.
the last time you had results like that?
Man.
It's been so long, but
the last time I
we're
was
not
Joe
teenagers
Pesci in
anymore,
that movie.
Chris. Yeah.
And there were
Hey,
8
man,
of those
and just so you know,
motherfuckers.
Danny DeVito is one of the heads in the duffel bag. I've actually been meaning to bring that up.
No!
Yes.
How is he on Always Sunny?
Oh,
And The Penguin. And many other movies and shows.
He used to be a small woman, and they stapled his head onto a short little fat guy's body.
That's true. That's true.
Stephen Gore did this?
Yes, Stephen Gore did this. We have him to thank. So anyway, but yeah, he is in that movie. So I was technically wrong, but technically right at the same time.
That's what she said. I'm sorry, that doesn't
I
apply
don't know
there.
why that's a sexual thing. No,
She
it
would
doesn't,
never
no.
say that she was wrong. I'm sorry, that doesn't apply.
No, absolutely not.
It's a video, so I'm not going to play it right now.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Or we do. And no, I'm joking. I don't want to hear that shit. So, the assassination of Philippe Espinoza would later make Tobin a very famous man around Colorado. Today, that act, along with his infamous escape from the Tausch revolt, remain...
The Tacos Revolt.
Yep, the Tacos remain
Ravioli.
the defining feats of his storied career. There was a little bit of controversy later on, none of it because of him, but there was a pretty big bounty that was attached to Philippe in particular. And at the time of Philippe's death, the bounty that Governor Evans had placed on his head, it had risen to $5,500, which is a fucking fuckload of money.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
That's a lot of money.
Big bucks back.
It's still a lot of money.
But Tobin didn't see a single penny because of his tracking and killing of the Espinozas. Not from the governor, anyway. When the Espinozas were dead and no longer a threat, the governor revealed to Tobin that the whole state of Colorado didn't have any money. They were depleted between the costs of the war that they had just fought, of financing and taking care of all of the soldiers and forts throughout the territory, and also what Lincoln called for in the East. I don't know what that means. I should have maybe read this paragraph through before I started reading it through. So this became a source of hushed gossip around the area, and speculation arose that Tobin only accepted the commission for the reward money involved, not simply to be valiant. But Tobin, on the other hand, maintained all the way until the day he died that he didn't even know that there was a bounty. He's like, I'm on the Saints defense the year that they went to the Super Bowl, and I had no idea.
I just wanted to stop these crazy motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm. So he put on his pads, and he got out on that field, and he played ball. You know? He put his heart into it. And then the Espinozas planned on taking his heart out of it. And they didn't get the chance, Chris. They never got the chance. And that's what's sad. That's the sad part of the story.
It is a little upsetting.
I cry.
So whatever the case, in order to make up for the bounty that was promised, Governor Evans instead gifted Tobin with an elaborate coat. That's right. It. I've looked and I've looked. I don't know if it was of many colors or of the dream variety. Neither of you are laughing. I am a theater nerd. At Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It took me a minute.
So thanks.
I get you.
So he could have had like $600,000 in today's money, or a pretty coat.
I mean, pretty coat though. You know, like how many people have one of those? It's like just you and that asshole Joseph.
I like pretty coats.
And this is great because the next sentence starts with only one more like it existed, and it
belonged to Joseph,
and that had been presented to Tobin's good friend Kit Carson. The military would also give Tobin a limited edition Henry rifle, and later, after the Civil War and following Governor Evans's resignation, his successor Alexander Cummings, that's right, Cummings, Rocket, would raise a bit of money with the help from donations around the territory and stuff like that to give to Tobin for that's serious shit. Like he
stopped
did
the Bloody Espinozas in
did.
4 days.
Yeah. It says here that the amount of the purse was thought to be less than half of the original bounty, which is still pretty goddamn good.
Yeah.
Like, I have not been offered $300,000 to murder anyone. And, I mean, I'm talking families. I'm talking, like, just whole, like, you know, church groups. Like, no one's been like, I will give you that kind of dough. Which is why, you know, I just haven't done it yet. It's that and the laziness, I guess. It's, you know, I didn't really sleep well last night either. So I'm like,
maybe tomorrow.
Just tired today.
Nobody asked me to do shit.
Aww. You sound like me when I complained that my priest never tried to molest me. I'm like, what was wrong?
Was I not pretty enough?
I guess not. I never had an ass. Maybe that he was an ass man, I guess. So in his old age, Mr. Tom Tobin became a very prosperous rancher, operating a pretty large ranch just a couple of miles away from Fort Garland. Although he never learned how to read. Chris, this is mirroring someone's life very closely, and it might be Chris.
Oh, there you go. Say me.
Are we suggesting Chris never learned to read? Is that what's going on here?
No. Yes, James, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I didn't know if you were or not.
If we whisper, he can't hear us.
And hold our hands like this.
Yes, together, hold hands. That's what we're doing. So, so even though he never learned how to read, he became the president of the county school board.
Nice.
That's
pretty accurate to today's standards.
You killed those two Mexican brothers, or family members, so well that we want you to be in charge of all of our kids' educations.
So that's why.
Tobin's daughter, and this is a really fun, cool story, later married the son of his good friend Kit Carson. His name was Billy Carson, or Will Carson. In the years that followed this, Tobin would try to stab his son-in-law because there were accusations flying about that Carson was abusing Tobin's daughter.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then the son-in-law struck back though with a hammer to Tobin's head, and then shot him in the face.
What?
Yeah, damn.
Tobin survived.
What?
Because Tobin
is a badass.
Tobin has turned it up to 22 now. There is no more 11. 11 doesn't exist anymore. That number has gone the way of Pluto, which is Uranus.
Nice.
A few days later, after this whole altercation, the two were said to have ironed out their differences. Because
we good, bro? Yeah, we good.
Life is too badass to be worried about the little things.
Like being shot in the face.
Yes, after a hammer to the head.
By your son-in-law.
So, Tobin ended up living a very long life, especially for the era, and he died in 1904. Today,
with no face.
His personal wagon can be seen at the Fort Garland Museum. I'm never going to go there.
I was going to say.
A picture. Oh,
email us.
Email us at see no hear no speak no pod at gmail.com or
snhnsnpod at gmail.com, especially if you have pictures of said things, so we don't even have to consider going there for any reason. Not like
or
we would.
To Google. Because Google can get me there faster, but it'll feel better and more personal if you do it.
Yeah.
And hey, and Chris, now if you ever have a route through Garland, Texas, you can go visit the fort and go see the wagon. Tell us how it is.
Or if you have a route through Garland, Colorado, where this place actually is.
Wait, this is in Colorado? No, it's not. It's Fort Garland, Texas.
It's not Fort Garland, Texas.
This what?
It's in Colorado. This whole Tobin thing happened in Colorado, buddy.
Oh, that's right. Huh?
Why would they? Okay, you and I are gonna have a conversation after this. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. So, the head of Philippe became something of a traveling act around the state of Colorado.
Wow.
Because
state of Texas.
It was a different.
I say, have you ever seen the decapitated remained head of a man that thought about killing 600 white people and ended up killing 32? Now you have.
Awful.
I expect. It's terrible. Why? That was good.
No. That was good.
That was pretty good. I like that.
It was a different time.
Trying to make it different from that.
The idea of displaying for amusement somebody's severed head is just awful.
I hope the baby's asleep.
I mean, especially if there's nothing cool about it. Like, no crazy.
I mean,
I don't know. Like, if I could have seen like Bin Laden's head, I probably would have.
I mean, but heads removed from the bodies don't look like the head that they used to ever.
No,
like
just spray him with some.
But the head gets all
some hairspray.
The head gets all the face gets all swollen and discolored, and like hair's falling out, and it's not.
That's what I'm saying. Spray the whole thing with some hairspray. Stiffen it up.
I'll show you in my closet later. You'll understand.
Alright.
So, I mean, and I mean, as we all remember, the one remaining remembered defining trait of Mr. Espinoza was the fact that he had what people called a jack-o'-lantern grin, which is it's like a tooth, and then not teeth for like 3, and then like another tooth, and then like not, and then and he was also a pumpkin, which is fun.
Wow.
Huh.
That sounds like a...
Man, I really wasn't paying attention last episode.
Yeah, no, I forgot to put that in, actually.
Sounds
so,
like quite the
cool.
personal problem.
I'm glad that that we brought that up. So after people went and checked out this head as much as they could, which, by the way, was floating in a giant jar of alcohol. The head then sat on the desk of the editor of the Fair Play Flume, which is, I'm guessing, a newspaper, and later in the offices of the Rocky Mountain News. After that, it disappeared, because fool me once, I'll go on an editor's desk. Fool me twice, I'll go on a different one's desk. Fool me 3 times, now I'm magic.
Now I'm magic.
That's the saying.
It's a saying in Tennessee.
Yes.
I think it's Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is in Tennessee, Colorado. Tennessee, Colorado, yes. The whole thing, Colorado.
Did you not get my George W. Bush reference?
No, I didn't.
You didn't get my...
I don't do politics.
W.
I mean, it's just a funny thing he said.
I remember when...
Fool me once.
Oh. No.
Shame on me.
Uh-huh.
Fool me twice.
Uh-huh.
Can't fool me again.
That's good, though. Like, that's smart. I like that.
Sure.
Because
Sure,
he had the atom bomb. So yeah, you're not fooling me again, motherfucker. That's what he meant to say. All I remember about politics is when Dan Quayle misspelled potato.
Dan Quayle.
Yes, Dan Quayle. One 1980s newspaper article, aptly titled, "Where's Philippe's Head?" Recently. Recently, a few employees at Colorado's Capitol building recalled hearing that an unknown preserved head was discovered in the storage in the Capitol's basement, and then tragically, or rightfully, was incinerated. Because if I find just a random head, I'm not going to be like, "Hey guys, check it out." No, because then they're going to be like, "Did you kill this man?" And I'd be like, "No."
I'd be like, "No, dude, it's really cool though."
Man, so I mean, I doubt that's true at all. Although his brother Vivian's spurs, which are good for sex, are on display in the Courthouse Museum in Colorado. Which, if you fool me once, you get arrested, and you fool me twice, you go to court in the courthouse in Colorado, and you fool me 3 times.
Can't fool me again.
That's when we bring out the spurs.
Unacceptable.
It's acceptable. I'll accept it. It's okay. Point to Jason. Great comeback. Also, on top of that, 2 pistols belonging to the Espinozas are in the collections of the Colorado Historical Society. So back in the 60s, they conducted a survey at the scene of Vivian's death, and which was actually led by descendants of the people that went and killed him. And they found a rusted rifle as well as pieces of a human skeleton. The people that found this stuff still live all around Colorado and the Southwest, including descendants of both Philippe and all of his victims, or most of his victims, whichever victims had kids. These people are stuck in a black hole. Philippe had 3 kids with Maria Secunda. It's Secundina? Secundina? Secundina?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, Maria Secundina.
It's wrong for me.
Before going off on his bloody revenge rampage. His kids' names, because Chris loves when I pronounce Spanish names, were Maria Vincenta, which she was born in 1855. Jose Domingo, 1858, so three years later. And Maria Manuela. Those were really easy. In 1862.
Muy bien.
Anti-disestablishmentarianism, but with a Mexican accent. And thus, that's it, man. That's the story of the bloody Espinozas and the manly badass that fucking killed two of them, because one was already dead, but that was more of a mistake. And then that guy shot the horse, remember?
Oh yeah, that was unnecessary.
Blasted.
Man.
That horse.
Man. Fun times. So, I mean, I think that's not just a great story.
That was a great ending.
Of bloody revenge, but it's also a story of, a man getting revenge, I guess, as well. I don't know. Because the Espinozas were like, you killed all our people, or 6 of my family, whatever. So you killed 6 of my family members, which it's gotta suck more when your family members die than when just whatever dicks are.
Yeah, random white people.
So, I mean, I could understand wanting to kill 100 white people for each one of my family members that died. I want to do that most days, and not even because white people directly killed my family members. Yeah. It's just, white people are terrible, and sometimes they need to... James is saying that they need to die, which is weird, because I was leading up to that, but I didn't want to say it, because I wouldn't want to
I want to say it.
I don't want to be criminally, culpably...
What's up, white people? I'm coming for you.
Gross.
Manifesto.
Yeah. And I'm coming for you.
But, he wanted to do it maybe for the right reasons. As skewed and fucked up as they may be, his intentions were to, bring justice to the people that basically and absolutely did murder his family in the Mexican-American War. So he went way too overboard with it. He made it I'd say it was more like a passion project, like an art piece to him, where, because had no, I honestly don't think that he had any reason, mental handicap or sickness or anything that would make the mutilations that he did to his victims anything other than showmanship on his part. It was a statement, and that was sense. It. But you leave a goddamn note, not a tiny stick made crucifix in the bullet hole in their head,
and then a massive stake.
Man, I could go for a steak.
Nice steak.
Yeah, see, as
you wanna
go
to Golden Corral after this?
Oh, nice. As devout a Christian as he was portrayed, it does strike me as being odd that he would leave crosses in a body, until you think about it from that angle of just being straight showmanship for the sake of being, of seeming to be this hateful monster, but
right.
In actuality, it's just fucking that old brand of justice by revenge, which is honorable, which was honorable at the time, but when you go to...
But he also didn't go after people that actually hurt his family. He just went after white people, period.
Right.
And then would pick off like older white people that just were outside their farms by themselves, because he was a coward and didn't want any screams or gunshots to be heard, because he knew that if someone heard them, people would come to stop him, which means that he was a slimy, sneaky son of a bitch, serial killer that mutilated bodies because he thought, like Batman, basically. Yes, I'm gonna equate the two. Batman uses fear. That is his strongest, best weapon in his arsenal, is the fear that he can put into criminals without ever even showing his face or whatever. And so Philippe did basically the same fucking thing to that's What the shit? Nicolas Cage pillow magic, reversible sequin pillow cover, throw cushion case decorative pillowcase.
You see that?
What? I do see that. I like it.
That's ridiculous.
I'd rather just a Nick Cage pillow.
It's creepy, though. I don't know how much I really like it.
So have you never seen the Nicolas Cage bed set?
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
There's a whole bed set of Nicolas Cage.
Why? When you can just buy the bed that he couldn't afford to keep
Seriously.
in his castle.
Seriously. The internet. Anyway.
Man, the internet. So, but, what I'm saying is that Philippe Espinosa is Batman. The end.
The whole Batman thing, like, it makes sense. It makes sense. Any battle that you can win without actually physically fighting is, a good win. It may not be as fun,
Right.
But it's a good win.
Right. But at the same time, also, kind of really not a battle, is it? It's more of a crusade.
It's a mind game, yeah,
right?
I suppose.
Isn't a crusade more of a
Holy thing.
like, hey, you guys, we don't like you. You don't even know that yet, though. But hi, here we're at your house with swords in your bellies. Right?
I thought a crusade was
Something
more
like that.
along the lines of we're on a mission and anybody who gets in our way is gonna get fucking handled.
Does it not have to be in a religious context? Because I thought it had to be in a
I think it
religious
does
sense.
have
It
to
doesn't have to
be.
be like the crusade,
But maybe
but
not.
it has to be a crusade.
Okay, all I'm going to say is that not only do we need to write this summer road trip movie that we've been kicking around, but it's going to be a big hit. It's going to be a big hit. It's going to be called The Bloody Espinozas Go Wild at it's their vacation exclamation point by
American Pie,
Which
the
is-
Espinozas.
yeah, by International Lampoon.
Not
which is,
in Texas.
I think what we should No, not in Texas. Not in Texas. It's certainly
Are you sure? I swear I saw a Texas in there.
I have not mentioned the name word Texas at all, nor a place that is located within it.
Well, Garland, Texas is a thing.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
so I assumed
I'm-
Fort Garland
I'm
was there.
sure that there are many places in this great land of ours that are named Garland.
I know a person named Garland.
Really?
Yeah, he's
Is he nice?
a pillhead.
Oh.
He's nice, but he was a pillhead, so he was always kind of out of it.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. So, this may seem an abrupt end. It may seem that Chris doesn't love you anymore. These things are both correct, because Chris has only got eyes.
For me.
No, just
There are
period.
more
He
Garlands
only
than
has
you
eyes.
think, sir.
Are there? How many? Thousands? Hundreds
Let's
of thousands?
see.
Tell me.
Texas, Kansas, Maine, North Carolina, New England, which I don't.
Louisiana?
Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Utah, West Virginia, Wyoming, Arkansas, and
West Virginia.
Arkansas. Garland City and Garland.
Was
Springs.
Colorado even on that list?
Nope. Oh yeah,
That's
there
right,
it is. There
because
it is.
it wasn't
Fort,
a city.
Fort Garland is Colorado.
Cha-ching.
Okay.
Yep, and
Rallies
Well, I guess I owe you
commercials.
$10 now.
You do owe me $10. And then for the bet that we made about the Fort Garland thing,
Yeah.
you just throw that extra 10 on top of the one that you already owed me.
What was that for?
That was at the time that I didn't slap you in public. No, we waited till private to do it. And you were like, I'll give you $10.
Dude, I
To
owe
slap
my
me in
parents a
private.
lot of money.
Do you?
Yeah. They only slapped me in private.
Is that why you're here tonight? Are you afraid to go home?
Oh no, that was years ago.
Okay, good, because I'm going to beat you worse than they ever did.
We'll
And-
see.
Well, yes, the world shall see,
Oh.
because I'm going to put it on the internet.
Tune in to our pay-per-view.
and it's going to have the Benny Hill Show music behind it.
especially if you're wearing your Kanye panties, it is on.
Aw, you know what, James? I feel
I will
like-
wear my Kanye panties.
I feel like
just so I can smack you. You can get smacked down by a man in Kanye panties.
You know, I would pay not a whole lot to see that, but I'd probably like $1 or $2. But you know what?
But hey, you get enough dollars to
Yeah,
choose,
exactly.
and that's like at least $4.
I was about to say, you get enough people to be like, I'd pay $1 to see that, and then you like bus fare or a cheeseburger.
Only if you vend my ticket in one of those plastic egg thingies.
No, absolutely not. Unless we put it in the plastic egg thingy and we hide it somewhere in the yard and you have to find it.
I'm cool with that.
But really, we're actually going to do what I do or did to my nieces and nephews when they were little, and I just hid them all in my pockets and told them that they were in the yard.
Are you serious?
Yeah, all the time.
God, you're such a
Yeah,
dick.
I know. And every once in a while, I would take one out when they would get really frustrated and stuff, and I would just peg him in the back of the head with
I was going to say you throw them
like,
at
oh,
him.
look, you found one.
Oh, look!
Yeah. What a surprise.
What do you know?
Man, I'm going to be the best dad.
Oh, man.
You already are, Jason.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I really do. And on that note, because I don't want any other notes ruined in that one, you just listened to yeah, that's right, me, Tobin. I think there's some parallels fatherhood-wise in there. Episode of See No, Hear No, Speak No.
For the second time, the UFOs, the conspiracies, and the bloody murders. And a horse murder, too. There was a horse murder. But that was last episode, but still.
And I'm James, and my fingers hurt.
Oh.
But I think I actually fixed it, dude. I was like, because my whole time my
I
right
noticed,
thumb was aching. I rotated it like that as far as I could. I felt something pop. I think I might have like popped a tendon or a nerve in place that was not.
But it's both hands, though. You said, right?
I think it might be relative pain. You know, sometimes you can like feel
Fingers
something that goes
aren't
on.
My
made to
relatives are
rotate,
pains
sir.
too.
Yeah, dude, I feel that.
Your relatives are jerks. Except if you're named Espinoza.
All right.
And on that note,
I'm going to fucking bed.
And he's James again.
and I'm James again.
No, wait, Chris.
I gotta
have
drive to
something tell you.
Massachusetts in 2 days. Well,
Christopher.
Don't you mean Massachusetts?
yeah, fucking
Yeah, see,
A, I
I
do.
wasn't gonna say that, but I'm glad it was said.
You damn right
have
I
something
do.
to tell you, and it's kind of important, and I can't let you leave without hearing me say it, and that is countdown. 3, 2, 1. Thanks, kids.
Love you.